Good evening, everybody. This is Chrissy from Solstice Trading Group. Today is March 16, 2019. I'm going to be covering a little bit the Fortune 500, the NASDAQ, the Russell, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and a couple of equities that will be in play for the following week in this market. Remember, we still have the tariff, part of the Brexit exit, part of the building the wall, and what would the Feds do in this economy as a global slowdown, as well as Europe. As far as I am looking at those four indicators altogether combined, on the weekly chart, we had a look below, came back up. The week before was a weak week. We came back up, but we were not able to clear those two highs from here. And we have, two secure lows. As long as we are above the 36,470, we're going to be bullish. Second area is the 37,540. That would be very critical for me to keep an eye on the combination of those four indices. But on the weak side, we have the Russell. We have the Dow Jones Industrial Average due to the Boeing, the 737 liner crash, the 8 and the 9, as well as we got the S&P, a little bit more bullish than those two indicators, as well as the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at them from the weak one to the strongest one, /RTY. That's the Russell 2000. On the weekly chart, it hasn't cleared halfway through that engulfing down trend candle. We are above the 1550, which is very good, secure place to be in. As long as we can keep above the 1560 area, we're going to be bullish. If we come back in and get dragged back down in the Russell, we won't continue higher. But the daily, I think, the continuation should be to the upside on the Russell. Let's remove this channel. And we'll make a new one. We'll take the low. We'll put that way so it looks clean. We'll do the same thing in the Dow. Let's take a look at the YM. On the weekly, it's the same thing. See, it hasn't taken the prior three highs, so we're going to keep an eye on that too. It's in a down channel. And we can look up to the prior high area of those three tops. If we clear the three tops, we can have, a little bit newer high. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. NQ is the strongest. Let's do the ES, the E-mini. So S&P 500. We had an engulfing candle down. We came back up and overtook the prior 28, 19 area, 20 area. We closed a little bit more stronger on the 28, 30 area. As long as we stay above the 20 area, 23, we can continue to the prior high, that 28.50, 28.78, and eventually, reach the 29.500 and continue higher to the 3,000. But if there's any weakness due to news, we can come back lower. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has a nice engulfing candle to the top. Seems to be chugging along all the way to get to the prior high, the 7,700 area. Let's see what the NASDAQ do, but let's look at them on the daily now. The daily chart. Nice, pattern of these down channels. We took off, we went sideways, for quite a bit of 10, 12 days, and eventually we broke up. Since we broke up, we had a 1, 2, 3 day side action, and on Friday, the close on the NASDAQ, basically this candle and this candle, there's only 5-6 points apart. If you look at it, this one at 7,368.5, and that's 7,361. So there's about 7-point difference. As long as we can keep the bottom of this space, the 7250 area, 7250 solid, we can continue higher. Let's take a look at the ES again. And the ES shows similar situation. If you notice that 28, 19 area, 20 area, we clear it. As long as we don't go low below the 23 area or the 93, 27, 93, we stay bullish to continue to the upside and eventually get to the top. But I have an oval here marked. Let's take a look at some equities, AAPL on the daily. Apple did a very nice job, and I had an oval here from the week before. If you notice, it got to there and we hit the 50 SMA, got a little rejection. If this gonna continue strong, look for the 200 SMA in the backside of this channel. We'll put a little oval up in this area. Let's do that. And we're gonna put an oval right in this area. Okay, let's do Amazon. AMZN. Amazon looks very clean chart. I'm going to zoom in on it and I will show you a couple of things I was looking at. I put something in Twitter. If you look at this area, there's a green box here. This is the prior pivot area. We had 2, 1, 2, 3. I would like to see Amazon in the 1800, 1845, which is this area here. Let's call it 1845. We had an oval here from before. We came down, coming back up. As long as we stay above the 1710 area, 1715 area, and clear the 200 SMA, the upside potential, the first one is this up channel. We can clear this area here. We can clear those. Potential target in the 1770 to 1845, and I'm going to put a little bit bigger of an oval on this one. Okay, so you can do actually like a butterfly on that, 2 for 1 or 1 for 2. Either way you do it, it'll look clean as long as you clear the 1715 and continue above the 1730 area. We'll get to the up here. Let's take a look at BABA. BABA seems to gap down, came back doing baselining at the 180.50. As long as we can, stay above the 180.50, we can potentially, this is halfway through that cone. If we can clear the 185 area, I'm going to put an oval here. If we clear this area, look for the top, which is this oval here. We'll delete that one, remove the oval, and we'll put it right here for everyone to see. That would be the upside of this channel. If not, and something goes wrong in the market, we'll come back to the bottom of this channel. So that's BABA. Remember, there's the China tariff. Let's take a look at Facebook. Facebook was a little bit weak. Brad, Nate, the other Nate, and as well as Leon had a nice short in Facebook the last couple of days. Some of them had the options, some of them had the equities. There was a nice short from the 171 area 40 all the way down to the 164, 163 area, which we nicely came down and bounced. As long as we stay below the 167 area, I believe, or this prior candle, which is the high on it, 167.60, as long as we cannot fill this gap between these two candles, Facebook is bearish. If the market's going to continue, this is a reversal hammer. Look to fill the gap. Look to go back to the 172.50. And I'll put an oval. Everybody's still bearish on it. It may do the opposite and U-turn on everybody. As long as it's above the 163.50, it is bullish. Let's take a look at Google. Google. Google seems, it got to that area, that yellow dash line, that's an ADX DMI crossing, and that yellow is sitting around the 11, let's call it 200 area, 1198 area, some change. So the 1198.50 to 1200 is going to be very critical for Google to clear. The prior push, and we put that oval here, it came back to it, cleared it, but Google had a little bit of weakness in it the last couple of days. The 2 days were a little bit under that prior high. If it can consolidate, look, and it can clear that 1200, look for the 12, 25 to get back to this side of the shoulder and part of this down move in the prior year, beginning of August, we can come back and clear this area here. Let's just put an oval here. I'd like to see it up there myself. I don't like to see it down in this area. Let's take a look at BlackRock, BLK. Just a little bit to look at the brokerage world. We are in a cone looking to the upside. We can remove those fibs, remove drawings. It looks like still remove drawing. It looks like it wants to chug along and clear that prior problem that it had, on this last dump. But if we cannot clear the 18 and 50% of this channel going up and come back in this area, the 440 area, 445, it's going to have a little difficulty. BlackRock. Let's take a look at Goldman Sachs slash GS. Oh, that's I was thinking of gold. GS. Okay, Goldman Sachs, that 210 area is going to be critical, the 208 area, because that was the prior breakdown, this candle that took everybody down. If we can move a little further in and take a look at Goldman Sachs, we have a range of this down channel. We have a pivot point of 199.60. If we can clear the 199.60 and the 203, this is after the races back to the 200 SMA, which can be around the 210. I mean, I'd like to see the distance double, because this distance from here, 190 to 200, 200 to 210, 211. So that would be a nice area to come back to. Let's take a look at Netflix, NFLX. On the daily, Netflix seems to be consolidating. It keeps hitting its head between the 250 area, 350 area, and the 363 area. If this area is going to be cleared, which this fib no longer valid, let's remove it. It already hit it too many times. If we take the prior high to this low, you can see where the resistance, if we can clear 364, 363, Netflix is back off to the races, back to this area up here in the upper 380 channel, which was the prior high on this candle here, which is 380 exactly. So let's take a look at Netflix at 380. I don't like to see it back in this bottom of this channel. As long as it's above the 355 to 360, it can be bullish to the upside. Let's take a look at Tesla, one of my favorite companies, huh? Tesla's been having difficulty. Let's go look at the weekly and the monthly. I think Tesla, because of the issues that it's been doing through its stores, revamping their products, the Model 3, the SUV, the cutting down the manufacturing employees, to get more revenue out of it. And if they're going to keep their stores and everything looks well, that channel on the weekly chart, if you notice, I have one here, one in the middle, one lower. Every time we touched it, we seem to be bouncing off it. Is this time this channel gonna hold or fail? I would like to see it fail 100% of that last move up and down, all the way back down to this area. Hate to say it, but this time it's test 1, test 2, test 3, fourth one, knock on the door, say goodbye. But if something comes out of Elon Musk and he does a tremendous nice job of making this company U-turn, this thing will end up very high. But I'm not gonna right now count my chickens on it. It's not the right time on it. It hasn't showed me it cleared the 300 or the 324 to be bullish in it. So 305 will give us an idea if it's going to be bullish or not. Let's take a look at the XOM. Exxon, seems to be doing very well on the weekly. It hit, the 50 on the weekly and the 116 SMA, but I would like to see one thing on the daily chart, that if it can continue and it can clear, this prior high, that 182 area is very easy to be reached. But remember, Exxon, let's keep an eye on, or the backside of the 78 would be a nice buy back into that zone. I'll put a marker, but let's take a look at oil and gold, and I'll finish up with the S&P 500. If you take a look at this one and this one here, there's two distinct areas in Exxon, which is holding, that area, and it seems to be baselining. As long as I'm above the $80, the 79.80, it's bullish to continue to the upside. But let's see what it does. Let's take a look at CL. Last week I forgot to cover CL. Let's cover oil. This is the daily chart on oil. I'd like that roundness. It was baselining, eventually broke up, came up to the upside of the channel. I'd like to see actually still oil in this area. So what we'll do, we'll remove this oval. And we'll put it up here. So everybody knows I like to see oil in this area. I don't like to see oil below the 56.80 because that would be very critical. I would not like to see it down in this area. So keep an eye. As long as oil can break this channel, that 59 area 60, that's the 50% fib on the long time frame, we can continue to clear this whole distance. Because this baseline, what I'd like to show you in it is two things. If you can take a look at the bottom of this candle to here, let's say 58 to 54.50, then from 58 to double it should be about here, 60.80 to 61.50. So I'd like to see that double go up there. Let's take a look at gold, GC. GC, I have a little problem with GC. Everybody keeps looking at that 1300, 1305 for a breakout. 1300 is very critical. 1392, 1388, I mean 1288, I'm sorry, 1288, 1292 is very critical in gold. If we lose the 1300 and we cannot keep that 1300, that oval, I'm going to move it over. Since we put it here last time, it didn't continue to up there. Remove the drawing. Remember, if there's going to be fear in the market, it's going to move it. It will move it further to the upside. But if there's no fear in the market, gold is not going to get brought. So it'll come back to retrace because it's part of, the inflation, the bond market, and what's going on in the overall market. That 1260, 1262, 1256, 1245 is my real target to the downside on gold, to accumulate a large position to go back long into it. If it can hold the 1278 area, come back and consolidate, it can go further high. But if it cannot clear the 1305 area, 1310 to continue higher, it's not going to be back at the 1330, everybody, okay? And I will put an oval here for everybody to remember this. We'll make it thin and long so everybody will remember. We'll zoom in to show it. It'll show up on the daily. You can see it here. This area is very critical. For it to clear, it needs to stay above the 1300, 1310 in order to continue higher. If it cannot, it's an open cone. If you notice, there's a channel here from the 1349.8. Let's call it 1350, and we can draw a channel from here to the prior high. It's in a cone. It has to stay above this channel to clear this area in order to continue. Let's put a marker here to the upside on it. Let's put an oval again. I'll keep it marked in here in order to clear, in order to continue back to up here. If it cannot clear this area, I see it back down in this area. And let's finish up with the ES Fortune 500 company. Okay, go back to just summarize the 28, 20 area is very critical, and 23 to continue bullish. If we lose the 12, the 27.92 area, look to the downside, backside of this channel. Okay, remember the tariff and everything that's going on in the market can cause a reaction, but as long as we stay bullish and the Nasdaq stays bullish without the Russell, without the Dow continuing to hold them, this one can come back. But I do not want to bet to the downside because we cleared the prior. We knocked once, we knocked twice, three times, four times. The fifth one is a continuation to finish to the top. I'm betting to the upside on those, but don't take my word. Remember, we're an educator, we're not a consultant or an advisor to tell you, hey, buy it. So remember, trade what you see, not what you think. And remember, the news can cause an effect on the market. Everything is built in the candles and supply and demand areas. And hope to see everybody next week. Good luck, everybody. And signing off from Chris, Solstice. Have a good day. Take care.